I want to start with a definition of fulfillment, because this sort of blew my mind a little bit. Fulfillment is when you're satisfied because you are fully developing your deepest desires and your character. Fulfillment's very different than happiness, everybody. Happiness comes and goes. Happiness is fleeting. Happiness is like the waves in an ocean, or the waves on Lake Michigan, the Great Lakes here in the United States, which is where I grew up, on Lake Michigan. The waves, they come and they go, right? That's happiness. It comes and it goes. It rolls in and out of your life. And oftentimes it feels like it's out of your control. Fulfillment is the ocean or the Great Lakes itself. Fulfillment is something way deeper. And fulfillment is about integrity and meaning. And the fact that when you have integrity and meaning in your life, you are fulfilled, you are satisfied, because you are fulfilling and fully developing your deepest desires and your character. And this is important. And I'm going to really hammer these words around meaning and, more importantly, integrity. If I had to pick one word that was important when it comes to you deepening your level of fulfillment with your whole life, the word is integrity. Now, this was brand new to me. You know, I always thought about fulfillment like, oh, find your joy, find your passion, find your purpose. Like, then you'll be fulfilled. Do things that you love, you'll be fulfilled. It actually has more to do with integrity, which is really cool. And, you know, when I explain why integrity is so important, it's also going to illuminate all the places in your life where you're not fulfilled, because I guarantee you, the places in your life where you're missing fulfillment are also lacking personal integrity. You're not operating consistently with what you care about. You're not operating with integrity in terms of your values. You're not spending your time, your energy, and your resources on what truly aligns with you from an integrity standpoint. And so that's why we're going to continue to hammer this word integrity, okay? And that's great, because when you start to think about cultivating personal integrity and how that translates to more fulfillment in your life, it's going to make that fulfillment something that you can control. It's going to make it deeply personal. It's going to make it something that you can move the needle on. It puts the locus of control within your reach. Let me talk about the two mistakes that everybody makes, okay, when it comes to fulfillment. And this is why fulfillment in some areas of your life are out of reach right now. The number one mistake that we make if you're struggling with fulfillment in any area of your life is that you're not living according to your own values. You know, I think we've all gone through those periods of our lives where we are drinking too much, or we're spending too much money, or we're hanging out with the wrong people, or we're making unhealthy choices. And you know deep down inside that this is not what you want to be doing. It's not what you should be doing. But because you are not living based on your own values, you don't respect yourself. There's no way you are going to live a fulfilled life if at the base level, you don't respect the choices that you're making. So can you identify an area of your life right now, either in the chat or in the journal function in the app, an area of your life where you are not living according to your own values? I see health coming up for people. I'm sure if you think about how you're spending your money, or whether or not you're saving money, you're not aligned with your values. Maybe you're doing work. I see productivity. I see exercise. So if you're not living according to your own values, this is one reason why you're not going to be fulfilled in your life. The second thing is that you spend your time and your resources on things that actually don't matter to you. You're spending your time and your resources on things that don't matter to you at the deepest level. These are the two big mistakes that we all make. And the good news here is that these are mistakes that you can easily identify, that you can address. And when you do, you take control back and you will amp up the level of fulfillment that you feel. I'm going to say this again. Fulfillment is not the same thing as happiness. Fulfillment is meaning and integrity. And that's why habit number one and building a foundation is about values. Because you will only find fulfillment, true, lasting, deep fulfillment, everybody, if you are following your values like a compass, not your mood. You got to follow your values and let that be your compass. That's how you build the proper foundation. And so what does that mean? What does that mean, everybody? Well, it means you got to figure out what matters to you, okay? And then you must develop the simple discipline to spend your time and energy on things, people, experiences that align with what matters to you. Living with integrity to what matters to you is the secret of fulfillment. And I think, I've alluded to this earlier, but, I can think about times in my life when either what I was doing for work or what I was doing with my free time did not align with my values. And so I'm going to tell you a quick story about a time in my life, because you know what it feels like. You know what it feels like. How many of you know that you're living out of integrity with your core values right now in some area of your life? Yeah, you know what it feels like. It can feel kind of irritating, like there's a rock in your shoe, and every step you take, there's this little thing in your shoe and it just bothers you, but you never stop to untie your shoelaces and dig the rock out and retie your shoes. You just kind of live with this grinding irritation. Or you can be so out of integrity with your values that you literally don't even feel like you know yourself anymore. And you may find yourself anywhere on that scale. I know I certainly have in my life. I have found myself feeling that kind of rock in the shoe type of integrity when it comes to eating, when it comes to kind of going out and spending time doing things with either people or experiences that I don't really care about, but I'm just kind of going. And I can think about the other end of the spectrum, you guys. And, this isn't something I'm proud to admit, but when I was in high school, when I was in college, when I was in law school, one of the things that I did that was completely at odds with my values was when I knew it was time to break up with somebody based on childhood trauma, anxiety, all kinds of issues, immaturity, lack of therapy. I would literally cheat on my current boyfriend and find a new person to anchor myself to as a way to exit a relationship. Now, this is not something I'm proud to admit to you, but what I can tell you is this was so against my values of integrity. It was so against my values of relationship, of connection, of being powerful in my life. But I was so lost that I didn't even recognize myself. And you may be in that sort of area in your life right now, in some area of your life too. And so it's important to understand whether you have a rock in the shoe or you are doing something that is so out of bounds for even you that you no longer recognize yourself, recognizing that there is this lack of alignment, this schism that doesn't feel right.
Hey, it's Brendon Burchard, CEO and founder of GrowthDay, and I am pumped to bring to you this month's topic of creating more meaning and fulfillment in our lives, because this is probably the most important topic we can take on. We can teach you lots of health hacks. We can teach you, relationship stuff. We can teach you career and productivity and confidence and all these other things. But if you don't feel it, if life lacks that sense of meaning that feels almost magical or destined, or you're deeply grateful for. If you're doing a lot of work, but you don't feel fulfilled, then we've got to explore that. Because when you don't have meaning and fulfillment, what happens is that seeps into your sense of motivation, that seeps into your sense of energy. And unfortunately, that feeling or that lack thereof, it bleeds out into your relationships. Because when you don't feel a sense of meaning and fulfillment in many parts of your life, now you're much more likely to be in a place where you don't feel fulfilled in your relationship, where you don't sense the meaning is there, even if the other person is really trying hard for you, because again, they can't bring that out of you. That's something you self-define. It's so important today to realize, wait a minute, my sense of meaning is something I have been cultivating. If your sense of meaning, on that scale of 0 to 5, if you're at a 5, that's not just how your day's going or how good the coffee was or not this morning. What it is that is a conditioned sense of feeling that has been going on for usually days, weeks, and months, leading to a 5 today. Meaning our overall sense of fulfillment and meaning in life are often not a result of today's momentary events, but rather a way that we've conditioned our mind, our attitude, our heart, the sense of our days with presence or not. It is something that we condition to a higher level. And that's something that I hope that you see is hopeful, that you can change, you can get better, and we're gonna do it today together. Okay, so with that, I'm gonna share with you what, if you're new to growth, I'm gonna share this framework that hopefully most of you have seen before. If you haven't, take notes today, because I'm gonna share with you everything you really want in life. In one picture, what we're all actually after is actually very simple. This is human psychology. It's universal. It's historic. There's no time in history that these things have not applied, and they apply now as well. This is just part of the human psychology. That this is what we all want. I got a little graphic here for you today. It's super pretty. I hope you can see it. Okay, so what do we all want? Take a screenshot. Okay, what do we all want? What we all want in life is aliveness. Aliveness is that sense of passion or higher positive emotion. It's that sense of vibrancy and presence to the moment. You felt that before. Some people call this being in the flow or being in the moment. Some people call it being spontaneous. Some people call it feeling passionate or adventurous or whatever. At the end of the day, you know what this means to you. And we all know when we don't have that sense of aliveness. We know you've been in a relationship before where that aliveness went away and you felt the quality of the relationship go down. You've started a new job or a new space before. You went into something new and you felt the aliveness of that novelty for a few weeks or months, and then it went away. Or maybe you've tried something new recently and you just felt so engaged with it. You were so interested in it. You're mentally absorbed or obsessed into it. And there's that sense of aliveness that comes from it. Whatever you describe that as, I just use the term aliveness. We're gonna talk about connection as well. That's your relationships. That's your connection with yourself, a relationship with self. It's also your connection with others, relationship with others. But you'll see down here, meaningful pursuits, like meaning and doing things that we find meaningful or fulfilling. It kind of lives down here, but notice it's a triangle. You can't take away any of these sides. Many people could be living meaningful lives, but they don't sense it because there's no aliveness or relationship to share it with. And so all these do rely on one another. In the middle, you'll see, if you can't read it, it says growth. Lots of people have meaning and fulfillment in their life, but they're still not happy because they're not sensing any growth or progress. Many of you have plenty of meaningful pursuits. You're doing incredible things, but you don't feel it. You're not happy. You don't sense an overall fulfillment in life, even if you're doing something meaningful. I've been blessed to coach a lot of nonprofit executives throughout my career and have done a lot of work in the nonprofit space. It's kind of where I started my career, teaching nonprofit people and folks in my industry how to partner together to share messages out to the world that made a difference. And I remember working with so many nonprofit people who just felt like, I'm doing all of these things that I know are meaningful, but I'm still not fulfilled in my life. And that's where meaning and fulfillment kind of come together in this picture. You can have meaningful pursuits, but if your relationships are off, or you're not cultivating that sense of physical and mental vitality that is aliveness, then you don't feel fulfilled in life. Is that funny? Meaning you can be doing important things that do matter, but not really sense fulfillment yet. That's why we called this topic creating meaning and fulfillment in life. They go hand in hand. I know lots of people do all day long. They're amazing parents. They're raising the next generation. What could be more meaningful? But they don't feel fulfilled yet, because fulfillment is an internal game. And so hopefully in talking through these topics today, we identify for you some areas that you could work on. And most of them will be your mindset and your recurrent thought patterns and your daily practices. Doesn't always come down to that. It almost always comes down to those things. If you're ever struggling in your personal life or professional life in any way, my first two recommendations to you is like mindset and habits. If you get your mindset adjusted and your habits adjusted, everything can change. Everything. It doesn't take much more than that, because your mindset is driving so much of how you feel. Your habits are driving so much of how you experience life, relationships, progress, productivity, health. If we can tweak those two dials, everything can shift. So I'll be emphasizing a lot of those today. I'm going to start, I guess, why I feel like most people are blocked from feeling more meaning, even when they're doing things that matter. Okay. Even when they're, being a great mom, being a great business person, being a great leader, trying to be a role model in their community or with those they love and lead, and they are lacking that sense and feeling of meaning. And while I started this topic today with sharing that obviously meaning is self-defined and it is a very personal thing, I really believe one reason many people lack that sense of meaning is because they don't have what I would call a destiny mindset. A destiny mindset. I know it's a weird word, and a lot of people don't like when I use the word destiny and they get all worked up about it, but let me try to work it backwards for you. A destiny mindset means that you see your life as consequential, that you believe that you matter because you are fulfilling a certain type of destiny, that there's a future for you, whether that's, you call it legacy or destiny or life vision, or you just believe that maybe there's a higher power that's calling you, but you sense that there's this future space for you in which you get to have a meaningful life. I know that might sound very broad, but the truth is, if we don't have that future pull, if we don't sense that what we are doing matters in the future, that something is pulling us along to a greater future, that our lives themselves are meaningful as humans, right? Not that we do it at an individual level where we have to say, well, I'm Brendon and my life's gonna be super consequential. It's like, no, as human beings, it's a life philosophy, isn't it? It's how you think of humanity. Does humanity matter or not? I mean, that's the entire question at the end of the day of philosophy, is what is the meaning of human life and how do we live it well? When you read philosophy, that's what the central premises of all of it is. Does it matter? How should we think about life? How should we think about living it well? And that philosophy of how we think about it is philosophy itself. How do we think about this important topic of meaning of life? Well, so many people have never just decided that, you know what? We matter. Your life matters. My life matters. Those people you hate out on the internet, their life matters. That what happens is we get so myopic into our own world of, okay, is the little thing I'm doing today, does that matter? Does my, this one thing I did, does that make me feel fulfilled and complete as a person? And we lack an overall life philosophy, that we have defined our lives and the context of humanity as meaningful. I know this might be too academic for some people, and that's why I use the word or the phrase, a destiny mindset. See, I believe in my own personal life, like my life philosophy is that my life has consequence, that I believe anything I do and everything that I do has a ripple effect out into the world. Now, it might not reach millions of people or tens of people or fives of people. It can be that one person I meet today who at the table I make smile. It can be that one ripple effect of sending out a positive thing on social media where one person feels better that day. It's not a grand scale of things. It's just that I believe that my efforts and what I'm trying to do in the world, they matter, that I'm trying to live into a specific kind of destiny. And I believe that the destiny is bigger and better and more incredible than I could imagine. Some people would say, well, does that come from faith? I'm like, yeah, it does. Like, I grew up as a spiritual person. I still am today. I grew up in my life as a Catholic. And today I'd probably not identify as much as just to any religion, as much as just a spiritual person. I believe in God. There's lots of people who don't, who also have a sense that, you know what? The future holds remarkable and important things for us. And we get to make our mark while we're here. We each get to make our mark while we are here. It's that dent in the universe you hear in all those great motivational speeches at college graduations, right? Why does every college graduation have that? Because people who are invited there have thought deeply about life usually, and they all realize that we all have an opportunity to make a difference while we are here. If you have lost that feeling that says, I have an opportunity to make a difference while I am here, you've lost that connection with what I'm calling a destiny mindset. A destiny mindset. And I know some people will take a destiny mindset that's like, oh, I got to see myself on a cover of a magazine. I'm like, I know lots of people on covers of magazines who don't feel a sense of meaning or fulfillment in their life. It's not an external thing. It's an internal or intrinsic thing that I just feel called. I feel that my life is leading to something important. I feel honored or privileged or grateful that I can make a difference in the future. And that make a difference in the future thing is an overall life philosophy that is connected to destiny. And I hope you start thinking about that, because you know what? Sometimes you wake up in the friggin' morning and you pull this thing out, don't you? You pull out your phone in the morning, and what do? You start scrolling through everybody else's stuff, everybody else's agenda, everybody else's life, and you get trapped into the myopic, looking at that comment and getting sad or upset about it. You get trapped into small things of life, the tasks, the emails, the responses, and all of a sudden you've been pulled into this tiny little myopic to-do list part of your life, and you forgot the being part of your life. You want to feel more meaning in your life? Start your day with that destiny mindset. Start your day with the life philosophy. Do you have somewhere? Is there a wall somewhere? If I show up at your house right now, if I could jump through this Zoom and land into your house, could you walk me to some room where somewhere your life philosophy, that big vision for you or your family, or your major goals, that destiny planning, that battle board planning, whatever you call it, can you show me somewhere, something you look at every day that opens up your mind and reminds you to get out of that little myopic brain that we all have that's just focused right here? Because if you never look to the bigger vision of life, it's hard to ever feel a deep sense of meaning or fulfillment, right? Who's ever done an entire day of unbelievable work? All day long, let's just take email. Let's say you had a day and you just crushed it in email. You replied to all the important things. Dozens or hundreds of emails and messages, and you just crushed it all day. At the end of the day, you are drained from the effort and you felt terrible. That's because that effort probably was not tied to a meaningful pursuit. And what I mean by that, a meaningful pursuit can be that destiny mindset, that vision, that life philosophy. See, there's lots of days I do tons of admin work you wouldn't believe. You're like, Brendon, you still do all that? I'm like, yep, no problem. Not even a complaint. The number of small tasks that I have to do each day, you'd cry for me, Argentina. But instead of getting upset about it, I go, you know what? That's all part of it. This is all part of this great flywheel of difference I am making that just keeps getting bigger and bigger year after year after year. And you say, yeah, sure, you can believe that, Brendon, because you get to reach all these people now. I felt that when I had 20 people on my email list in 2001. I felt that when I first started and I launched my first book, which bombed. I felt that when I did my, first major speech and my first major job. I felt that when I, had my first opportunity to speak in a boardroom with like executives. I knew I was building to something big and my future held something big. I just chose to believe that. My life philosophy was everything I'm doing right now, it's just stacking. It's just stacking the goodness. It's just stacking the goodness. And it's capturing this flywheel. And one day that flywheel will amplify and I'll go places I didn't even know I could take off to. That's a larger life philosophy, isn't it? It's a very different approach to mindset where most people in the morning, they're giving away their mindset to their phone and not thinking about life. You want to feel more meaning and fulfillment in your life? Think about life more. Read some philosophy. Read some great biographies of people who did great things. Expand your vision. And as soon as you expand your vision, there's a different sense of, I would say, emotion and motion in life. Expand that vision again. Open up that ambition again.
Our topic is how to let your fears make you fierce when it comes to fulfillment. Fulfillment is holistic. Again, fulfillment is holistic because you might make a lot of money, but you're not happy at home. You might be happy at home, but you can't make ends meet. You might be traveling the world, but still feel discontent. So we're really going to dive into different areas of life and really dive into some of your fears and some of those places where you might not feel fulfilled right now, but we'll talk about how you can get to that next level. So right now in your journal, in your phone, or in your GrowthDay app, I want you to make 3 sections. 1 section for self, 1 section for others, and 1 section for the world, right? Because to me, fulfillment, it covers all 3 S's. You want self-fulfillment, right? You want fulfillment when it comes to others. And if you're a part of this community, I know you want fulfillment when it comes to humanity and the world, and how the world is doing matters to you. So we're going to go over all 3 of those areas. But as you know, if you've coached with me before, everything starts with self. Holistic health starts with self. So we're going to dive into self-fulfillment at your root. And in yoga, in holistic health and wellness, our root is basically our center for safety and security. So what I want you to ask yourself right now when it comes to yourself is, do you feel safe? Do you feel safe? Do you have negative self-talk? Are you tearing yourself apart? Are you just judging yourself daily? Are you comparing yourself to others? I know we've been through all these things before, but I want you to honestly ask yourself, are you safe for yourself? Or are you your own worst critic? Do you constantly compare yourself, judge yourself? And hey, it's okay if you do, because I do too sometimes. Sometimes I wake up and like, dang girl, you're looking old today, slept on some makeup. And it's like, wait a minute. I look good. I have to go give myself a high five. Y'all all know Mel Robbins. Give myself some positive self-talk and reel it back. But this is a time, again, to be honest. So just be honest with yourself. Have you been comparing, down on yourself, negative self-talk? Just write that down right now. And just really take a moment to think about what are some of those things that you're saying or you're doing that is not healthy for yourself. Because if you don't have that safety, if you feel like you're living in a place that isn't safe, that's really important. So how are you taking care of yourself? Okay, that's number one. Now let's go to the next session. When it comes to others, how are you connecting with people around you? Are you in an environment where you feel judged, where you feel less than, where you feel unsafe, right? This can be at home. Maybe there's a lot of yelling. Maybe there's abuse. Maybe there's things going on that you're like, this is toxic. So just take a moment right now and just write that down. Are you in a toxic relationship with others? And this could be your personal relationship. This could be work relationships. This can be community events where you go and maybe you are shaking or you feel like, oh, I don't feel safe here. I don't feel like I belong here. So really be honest about your sense of safety when it comes to others. And then the third one is, do you feel safe in the world? And I have a story with this one. And this is honest. When I go home to Tennessee, this is crazy, but I do not feel safe as I do when I'm in California. Y'all, and this is a hard thing for me to admit because I'm looking for a house in Tennessee and I want to live there and I want to be closer to my family. But I'm going to show you while we're doing these exercises. And you can break down, some of you are like, oh yeah, I feel safe. But once you reach one, like me, you're like, ooh, I don't feel safe, or I had a feeling of unsafely. That's where I want you to deep dive. Why don't I feel safe? Why don't I feel as safe in Tennessee as I do in California? Right? I've experienced a lot of trauma in Tennessee. The system, the policing system, which, police brutality is a big trigger for me. I don't feel safe on the streets, right? So I know that is where I lack a sense of safety. So I can speak to that. And tell myself, I am safe, all is well, right? If you don't feel safe personally, if you feel like, man, I've been giving myself a lot of negative self-talk, then you want to look in the mirror and say, you know what? I love myself as I am. I am whole and complete. If you don't feel safe with others, then you need to decide, what do you need to communicate? Do you need to get out of those relationships? So ask yourself, when it comes to safety in those different areas, where do you need to make shifts? Is it you need more positive self-talk for yourself? You need to give yourself some positive affirmations. It could be, you know what? At the end of the year, I'm going to treat myself to therapy this year. I'm going to give myself a therapy session because I've been doing the affirmations. I've been doing the positive self-talk. And guess what? I'm still beating myself up. And again, I don't mean just occasionally saying something, but you know what it is when it's on a regular basis and you wake up and you go to bed feeling unfulfilled or not happy. When it comes to others, and I also have a story with this one. I was in a situation, a toxic relationship, a toxic work relationship where I felt like, hey, I keep saying this thing over and over. I don't feel like I'm being heard. I communicated. And even when I communicated, there was just a lack of connection, understanding, and that relationship had to transition. So this is not, this person rubbed me the wrong way. This is not ghosting. This is not judgment. This is, you feel a certain way. You communicated how you feel, and there's still discord, or there's still a separation. There's still a misalignment. So where in your life is there misalignment? And if you feel like this might be misalignment, but I need to communicate, then that's your next step. Your next step is communication. If you feel like there's a misalignment, I've communicated and I'm just not aligned with this person, but I'm still in the situation, then you have to ask yourself, do you want to take that energy into 2022?
This can be your day for personal growth. This can be that day you committed to and you remember, you go, That was the day I got myself a community. I got better coaches. I committed to making my life the absolute best that I could. This is that day. Make today your growth day. Click the button on this page and sign up right now.